So luckily, I had to shave for work, so I don't have super neck beard going on.
Oh no, my
I don't want people to know I'm a nerd. Now let's do this video about these comic movies. Hey, we're two fat guys.
And we just rewatched Kick-Ass 2.
Yes.
We're a bit behind.
Yes, we're very behind.
Yeah.
As most people would probably say.
Yeah, we've been sort of neglecting the videos recently, so we have three here in a row that we're going to be putting up that we need to catch up on. But this is our first one, Kick-Ass 2.
Mm-hmm. We do let you know we did see them in theaters when they came out.
Yes,
very shortly after.
Opening weekend, I believe, on all three.
Just we never bothered to shout at the internet.
When you're watching a video by a duo named The Two Fat Guys, chances are they're going to be pretty lazy and not get up videos on time.
Yeah.
Fun fact. But Kick-Ass 2, I really enjoy it.
Yes, it is a very entertaining movie.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's what it's going for.
It's not going to win any screenwriting awards. Like, it's not trying to. It's not supposed to. And it's not what it's here for. It is delightful though.
Oh yeah.
The first thing I noticed when I rewatched it was the structure of the film, which I feel like the first one probably had some of this as well when I was thinking back to it. And that's not really structured like a standard film.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same, 3-act.
Yeah, it's sort of more like a comic book where they're like, in this one I feel like there are almost 4 distinct little issues where the story continues. But honestly, Kick-Ass doesn't have a through line in the movie. He's like, oh, I'm bored, I want to fight crime again. And then he's like, oh, I joined the superhero team, that's cool. And then it gets into halfway through the movie, and then it's like, oh, there's a supervillain who's attacking me, and I have to defeat him. So he only has a through line in the second half of the movie. The beginning of it's well, it's cool and awesome, I really enjoy it. It's not really sort of a continuous character arc that you would get in a normal film. Motherfucker's the only one with a through line in this movie, because he starts off I need to defeat, his first scene is I need to kill Kick-Ass, and that's what he tries to do the whole movie. So maybe he's our protagonist, and there's just a lot of extra scenes with the other characters. Yeah, so it's very, and then especially the whole Hit Girl thing. I love the Hit Girl plot, her in high school and all that, but it is of itself. It doesn't really contribute to the rest of it. It shows her trying to be normal.
Yeah, it's solely focused on her. It's not.
Yeah.
Her actions there at the school don't impact Kick-Ass or the rest of the gang or anything.
No, that's what she's doing while Kick-Ass is with the Justice Forever.
Yes.
Which I'm very proud of myself for recalling that name.
I was very impressed.
I did not think to write it down earlier, so I should. Good on me. There are a lot of really cool moments in the movie. I just wrote down some that jumped out to me, on the most recent viewing. I really got hit this time by the callback to the cell phone fight in the first movie, where the guys approach him and is like, "Help me get a million hits on YouTube or something."
Yeah.
When the guys want to beat up Kick-Ass, and it's a very nice counterpoint and callback to the first fight where Kick-Ass got noticed by fighting those guys, and the people got on the cell phone and the one on YouTube, and that's sort of how he came to be. I thought it was just a great callback, and honestly, the addition of Don Faison as in that scene, having a sidekick and an additional hero to help him, it was a majestic moment for being just a dude beating up someone with a baseball bat.
Mentioning Don Faison, let's talk a bit about the cast.
Okay, I have a whole thing here. Yes, let's get Don Faison first. First off, I miss this guy.
Oh yeah.
Since I know he's been doing stuff, but since Scrubs, I haven't gotten any sort of consistent source of Don Faison. And that guy is delightful, and I hope he gets more soon.
If memory serves, he was one of the first new cast members that I recall being announced for this movie. And I just read the Kick-Ass 2 comics.
Yes.
And then found out that he was going to be playing Dr. Gravity? Mr. Gravity? Something?
Professor Gravity?
Professor Gravity. That sounds close to it.
You can Google
whoever his character is. and I was really excited, because I was like, yeah, that's a great choice for that. He's perfect. He's kind of nerdy, but also fun, and seems like he'd be a nice guy and going out and stopping crime and whatnot. So I 1,000% okay with Donald Faison. I wish he did a little bit more in the movie, but he doesn't do that much in the comics. So
there's not a whole lot for him to do. Yeah, it's that's the thing. If I were to change the structure and make it more of a film, which I'm not saying you need to, it was very entertaining. I loved it. That's one of the things I would do. It's okay, well, you minimize the stuff with Hit Girl. We know that Hit Girl doesn't get in normal high school society. You don't need to show us that much of it. We get that that's what's happening with her. and spend more time in sort of Kick-Ass getting this super team and sort of how these people came to it. Like you do get like one of the issues, if you will, in the movie is about that. Is about the superhero team and like where they came from and them helping the community and then patrolling. But I would love to get even more of that. Like sort of pattern out to a more of a film thing, give their characters more motivation and goals and through lines and things. And Donald Faison would just be delightful and it. So okay, so that was just a whole list of people to run through. So the new Todd.
Yeah, the new Todd.
Which it's sort of weird. It's always weird when you replace a character. But
it seemed to work okay because, especially because Todd was kind of already being alienated by the other characters in this film. The fact that it was not the guy from the first film was...
Yeah, not a huge issue. Although I kept, somewhere along the brain, either the old Todd or the new Todd got mixed up in my brain with young Neil from Scott Pilgrim. And so like I kept going, is that young Neil? It's not. Is the old one young Neil? No, it's not.
I think new Todd kind of looks similar to young Neil.
That's probably where it came from. Like, there's probably a source, but it was still, I couldn't get out of my brain. And so I was disappointed he's not young Neil, so work on that, actor. Just turn to someone else. Clark Duke.
Oh, I mean, you're going to give Clark Duke more stuff to do, and that's always good.
And man, it's so dry. Like, I love it. Like, you mean the most ridiculous scenario. He's wearing a friggin' crappy Captain America outfit, fat cosplay Captain America, and he's still just dry as hell. Just that kind of whispery hi thing he does is just great. Oh, man, I'm going to steal that forever. Man. Kick-Ass, whose name escapes me. What's his... Taylor something? The guy playing Kick-Ass, who is going to be in an...
Aaron Taylor something.
Yeah. Who's going to be in Avengers 2, Age of Ultron.
Johnson? Aaron Taylor Johnson?
I don't. They have the internet.
I'm going to say that. I'm going to put that as my guess.
Yeah, they can Google it. But he's going to be Quicksilver in Avengers 2. Yeah. And he's quite good in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked him in the first Kick-Ass. I thought he was really good.
I think it's a good continuation. A little teen angsty for me, but I mean, that's more the script than him, and it's just because they have such a short time. Like, he immediately goes to, "Oh, Dad, you don't understand me." I'm like, that kind of came out of left field. But
I think it's also a bit awkward because he's considerably older than Kick-Ass is supposed to be at this point.
Yes.
And so that teen angst feels more put on.
It does, yes. Because Kick-Ass in the comics would be like, what, 16?
Yeah, 16 or 17.
And Hit Girl would be like 12 or something. So.
Yeah, and so, like, Aaron, the actor's
20 something, yeah.
Mid, maybe late 20s. Like, he's...
I'm terrible at judging ages. So he could be 12. I don't know.
Yeah, not a spring chicken anymore.
Yeah.
And so because of that, the teen angst stuff kind of comes off awkward. But again, this movie may have succeeded in the fact that it did so many things that even if a couple of those things aren't great, they're all tiny things.
Yes.
So I mean, even the really good things we don't get enough of, like Donald Faison and the Hit Girl doing anything where she's kicking ass. But that's actually, now that I think about it, it's kind of a genius move.
Yeah.
It's going to segment our entire movie so much.
No one can really, like, if we fuck up something, like, it'll be done in 5 minutes. Don't worry. Don't worry. Speaking of that, though, Hit Girl. When the first movie came out, I was really afraid that she was, like, the actress was going to be just sort of like, okay, she played Hit Girl, and that's the only thing she did.
Mm-hmm. Not since Kick-Ass, she's done a lot.
Yeah, well, first off, she's back to vintage Hit Girl form, which, like, when I first saw the movie, I'm like, yeah, of course she's going to play. Like, that's all she can do. But no, she's done a lot since then. She's fantastic. I love her on 30 Rock. I've been going through that again. 30 Rock? Oh, yeah. It's a cameo role. She plays the granddaughter of Jack's eventual boss. So they're like, she's competing with Jack to, like, succeed her grandfather.
Well, that's okay.
And, yeah, so that role is actually a little Hit Girly in that she's, like, wise-talking, crafty young kid. But she is phenomenal in this. And they handle the, like, okay, she's 15 and, like, 15-year-old girls do 15-year-old girl stuff pretty well in this. It's hilarious. First off, her whole section where she's, like, experimenting with the high school world. But they also, like, they didn't spend too much time. Like, there's a little bit with, like, oh, she's checking out Kick-Ass's body and she gives him the kiss at the end. And, You know, she goes out with that guy. But
Yeah.
it never detracts. Like, she never stops being Hit Girl. It's not like, oh, Hit Girl can't fight because she needs to, you know,
I think
make
it
out with
helps.
this dude.
It helps with a lot of that because a lot of it is played for laughs.
Yes.
If they were trying to make it seem like Hit Girl is seriously this like romantic lead sort of character, it would fall right on its face. So the fact that they're playing it for laughs, kind of the whole dealing with puberty thing, like is
Very helpful.
yeah, it's very good.
Um,
Also, a quick note since we're talking about Hit Girl, the fight choreography in this movie, like the first movie, incredible.
yeah.
Because it is, you can follow the action, and that is one of the key things that's important in good fights. Is
And
that
especially in this one, like, you know what? I'm going to forgive it if I don't really follow Iron. Like, even though they do a good job in other movies, like, you know what? If Iron Man's jetting around, I don't really follow him, like, taking down jets or shit like that. That's not a big deal. Like, this is, what if real people try to be superheroes? So I think making sure that the combat is grounded, like, I know I can't do all that stuff, but I understand physically how a body can, like, punch and then flip like that. Like, I understand the mechanics of it, even if I could never do it in a million years.
Yeah, and you know, and practicalities aside, it is believable in its universe, and it's you can follow the action, you know what's happening, and therefore the fights don't get boring.
Yes.
It's not just punch, 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 shoot, 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 shoot. Like, a fight is constantly changing, and I think that's one thing this movie does really well. Even in the end, when there's massive fights going on between huge groups of people.
Yeah, the set piece fights in the middle of the big fight are very well done.
They go from pulling way back to where there's just a massive amount of action to focusing in on 2 or 3 people at a time. So it doesn't get too overwhelming at any point. So then who else we got?
Jim Carrey.
Oh man.
Captain Stars and Stripes himself.
Holy fucking shit.
Yeah, I missed. Speaking of, I didn't think about this. I'm looking forward to the Dumb and Dumber 2.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's gonna be great.
Because I forgot that Jim Carrey does good movies when he wants to, and holy hell, this is no Mr. Popper's Penguins. This is fantastic.
So this character in the comics is pretty important. Like he's a big deal. He's one of the primary supporting characters.
If you didn't tell me who would cast, like let's say I just read the comic, I could see.
See, I go with like Arlie Hermes, some typical tough military guy. Like Arlie Hermes may be a bit old at this point, but something along those lines.
Put a bunch of money into it, Liam Neeson. Like if you had the money, you're like going for stunt casting.
I can see that. Yeah,
because he's this old mob enforcer. He's this grizzled guy. He's muscled, and they went with Jim Carrey, which.
And I first heard that, and I was like, it took me a minute to process because I love Jim Carrey and I love this character, and I didn't see how they could mesh. And then eventually, I kind of came to terms with it. I was like, because I've always liked Jim Carrey, even his dramatic stuff. Like, he's very good, and comedians tend to be very good at doing roles outside of what they're known for. But I kind of came up with in my mind a version of Colonel Stars and Stripes that was the Jim Carrey version. And I was like, okay, I can, it'll be a little bit wackier, kind of that sort of thing, and this kind of weird amalgamation. But I kind of came to terms with it. Because I had plenty of time before the release. And then, the first trailer came out.
Yeah.
That showed him, and he just had like one line in it. And I was like, what?
Yeah. Our friend watched it when we watched it, and he said that if he didn't realize it was Jim Carrey his first viewing.
Yeah.
He didn't dig a hole deep, he didn't look in the credits, and it just washed over him. He didn't even realize it was Jim Carrey.
Yeah. And
if you look to see like who is that, you'd realize it's Jim Carrey, but he does such a good job of disappearing and the makeup work.
He's in prosthetics and a mask.
And the voice. Oh man.
Yeah, his voice is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so when this movie came out, and even in the trailer, I could see that the amalgamation that I had for this wasn't necessary. It was just Jim Carrey playing Colonel Stars and Stripes. Like Colonel Stars and Stripes, how I envisioned him is exactly how Jim Carrey did it.
Even though there was some weird stuff with the marketing of this film after, because there was a shooting, and then Jim Carrey spoke out against violence and said, like, maybe this movie's too violent, maybe it's part of the problem.
But I always wonder how much that gets taken out of context.
Yeah, apart from that, because eventually, he did bad. There was a quote saying, like, I didn't mean it like that. Like, this is a good movie.
Yeah.
But he loved it so much, he went out and, like, some of his props he bought himself so it would look more like the comic book. He was that into it. He's like, all right, this is what he has in the comic book. I'm going to get this costume and this. And yeah, so he was into it, and it shows because he nailed it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's amazing. John Leguizamo.
Yes.
Which
The,
normally
the Alfred that was called out for being the Alfred of this movie.
yeah, which
And
I
took
love.
and took offense to it, which is even better.
I love it. Motherfucker just couldn't understand. He's like, "What is that? Why would you be offended by that?"
Yes. Yeah, these sort of protector figure, more the Alfred, basically, for lack of a better term, to the motherfucker.
Or protagonist.
Man, yeah, the protagonist. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, no, really, yeah, he's the protagonist. He has a through line. He has an Alfred.
Yeah,
so.
he gathers a team.
Mm-hmm.
He fights.
Yeah, this all checks out.
Yeah,
so it's a motherfucker
yeah,
too.
he's going against. It's revenge for the dude who killed his father. Like
This all checks out. He's Batman. Wow, they really put that together.
yeah.
Okay, so Batman is being beat up by this little girl. And, but no, John Leguizamo is fantastic in this. Like, it's smaller role. It's not a huge thing. It's not like, oh man, he brought me to tears and taught me about humanity.
Yeah, it's
But
weird. Like, cause
he's very grounded in a movie that is very ridiculous. He is, especially against Christopher Mintz-Plasse as the motherfucker, who is also phenomenal in this. Continues just his great role as Red Mist in the previous one, and sort of builds on it, and gets to the point where this spoiled little kid who just wants to be a sociopath and like isn't. It's just
is bad at it. He's
yeah. And John Leguizamo is just this very genuine guy who's just trying to protect this kid. Like, look, you're a kid, and multiple times he's like, this isn't what you want to do, but he helps him do it. He's like,
and
look,
his superpower is being rich.
yeah, his superpower is being rich. We're aware. We know he's Batman. We've established that, Internet. The Internet knows that.
I just keep thinking back because I was like, it mirrors Kick-Ass's journey in the first one because it's he wants to be the superpowered being and is failing at it. But then I was like, but then he has money and that makes up for it.
He's Batman.
Damn it, Batman.
Yeah. But John Leguizamo, just a solid role. And just jumping over a bit to one of the best scenes in the movie is the scene with Sir Friendzone from Game of Thrones.
Yes.
He plays.
Sir Jorah Mormont.
Yeah, he plays.
Do
The
you know his
mother.
name?
No, I
By
don't.
chance?
I wrote down EGOT guy. Not EGOT guy, but EGOT guy.
That's Robert Lopez.
Topical. All right, so, but the motherfucker goes to see his uncle in prison because his uncle like technically runs the crime family now, and he sort of told people to not go along with what Chris D'Amico has been planning.
Yeah.
He goes talks to him like, what the hell? Like, you're in prison, I'm not. I'm in charge of my money. And he shows him like, oh, here's what real power is. And he has the guy call the phone. Yeah, he has the guy call the phone. John Leguizamo answers like, what's going on? And then another guy kills John Leguizamo on the phone for him to hear. And just this great, when he turned away, he's like, why don't you go away to college or something? He goes, you just taught me everything I need to know. And it's just... It's the best moment in the film. Like, it's the best as far as, like, legitimate acting and writing and story. It is...
Yeah.
Because it's part of the hero's journey.
Yeah, it is. Damn it.
It is so good. It's one of the, like, even though he gets ridiculous after that, there's that
Too
moment.
bad they couldn't have just called this movie The Motherfucker.
Right? Even though he goes ridiculous again after that, because he's a motherfucker and that's how the
Yeah.
story works, like, honestly, you could have turned at that point and, like, because you saw in that moment, like, he's like, he learned what evil is and, like, he hardened and all his innocence sort of got taken away in that brief moment, and it was fantastic. And yeah, and John Leguizamo set that up, like by being such a strong role model and strong Alfred for him.
Yeah, if it had just been like some dude.
Yeah, it's like, oh, here's one of your thugs. Yeah, wouldn't care at all. I also want to talk about the villain team, just sort of as a group with Mother Russia,
The tumor.
Genghis Carnage.
Yep.
Yeah. Just they're great. They have a great little slapstick comedy.
Yeah, they're just like this troop of like evil villains who aren't really evil villains. They're just like dudes paid to be.
Except for Mother Russia, yeah.
With the exception
Yeah,
of
the
Mother
other-
Russia,
they're
and
there-
they're all like, oh shit, she's the real deal. Check this out.
Since it's really about motherfucker, they're pretty much R2D2 and C3PO. They're there to like crack wise and observe things that happen in the story. But
I mean, Mother Russia's Chewbacca.
I don't know, Mother Russia is Darth Vader.
Yeah, all right.
She is just awesome. And first, I want to talk about that Tetris theme. Holy hell!
Yeah.
Because Tetris theme, if you don't know, is this old Russian folk song.
Yeah.
That they co-opted for Tetris, which is secretly about the workers' control the means of production. But when Mother Russia's just killing all the cops in suburbs, just this great, super fast rock version.
Metal version of the Tetris theme is playing.
And it succeeds in every way. Like, I didn't even care, because it got ridiculous at times, but I did not give a shit, because it was delightful.
Yeah, it was really the equivalent until by the end when we actually got Hit Girl fighting again.
Mm-hmm.
It served the sort of middle of the story
The Hit Girl showing up.
scenes from the Hit Girl, like just like someone coming in and is insanely good at what they do, and is just showing off everyone around.
Yeah. And then so then their fight at the end, even though they didn't really set it up, there's no story behind it. The fight between her and Hit Girl at the end is great.
Yeah. Oh, because it was pretty much just like, they're foils. Like,
it's like, hey,
they have to fight, right?
Like, oh,
That's just how this works.
You're the good fighter. I'm the good fighter. Let's do this. That's pretty much what it was. Like, it's not like, oh, you killed my dad, or like, oh, I remember you did this thing.
Yeah, there was zero like.
They see each
character
other.
reason for them to fight, except for the fact that you had just seen these two movies and you'd seen them both have amazing action scenes.
And if they fought anyone else, they would just die. Like,
yeah,
everyone
so
there would die.
You want to see what happens when these two forces collide, and it's
just a great moment.
Great.
Yeah, and that fight, that's one of the few moments where they go out of sort of the like super realism of the fights, where they go sort of the high speed when she's on the adrenaline.
Yeah,
they go the high speed sort of stabbing, which with all the ridiculousness that's happened, it's fine. And honestly, if Hit Girl's if they're trying to imply that Hit Girl's like even better than ever, like then you need to do something because Hit Girl's about as perfect as you could be up to that point.
Well, and then it was even followed right then by her having she said a line in Russian, which has been translated by a comic text bubble that appeared on the screen, and it was great because that was the most comic booky moment.
And then followed like 5 seconds later with someone saying, "This isn't a comic book."
Oh yes, yeah. Then right after that.
Which was some editor had to go, ah.
Yeah, because normally I hate that in movies. Like this isn't a movie. Like this isn't a TV show. You can't act like this. I'm like, it just totally breaks me of that moment.
But the fact that this story you can.
This you can, but it.
Because first off, that's the impetus for him to become Kick-Ass, and for all this thing starts that these guys read comic books, and that's what inspired them to do what they're doing.
And then it's the Watchmen tie to that.
But then just the call out on the fact that they just did the most comic book thing they'd done in the entire franchise 5 seconds earlier.
Yeah, it was
like bringing you back down. Like, hey, remind you, like this is not going to be a super high tech fight with crazy effects. This is two like effectively high schoolers on the roof punching each other. So a few other moments. We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about the scene with the old man in the grocery store that motherfucker robs. He's robbing this store. It's his first act as a villain. He's wearing like unadjusted like S&M gear from his mom. It's a lot of issues. We don't want to get into it with him. But he's robbing the store, and this old man comes in, and he's holding it super gangster style. And he's like, hit the floor, and he's like, you're gonna hit yourself in the face if you don't hold the gun right. And then the old man gets down on his knees and fires at him just right in his face. He goes, "I told you!" Without missing a beat.
Yeah, it's like not exactly like the highest brow of comedy. Like it's not super complicated, but it was effective.
It was effective.
An effective joke.
It was also great for him because it just showed him how bad he is at being a criminal. Like he grabbed a gun and went to a grocery store and thinks he's a supervillain. Everyone that's a normal person crime.
Yeah,
He did not take the city's water supply hostage and don't poison the reservoir or something. Like he went into a store with a gun and asked for money from an old guy. This is not a super complex joke. Although speaking of not the highest brow joke, I still find myself like the thing I dislike most about this movie is the sick stick.
Yeah.
Even though there's a lot of crass humor in this, it feels like the hands down most crass moment, and it stands out. It feels like something that I really don't know why it's in there.
Yeah, it also feels like there could have been better ways to handle that.
Yeah. I don't know if we need to make sure that these high school girls are punished, without her just punching them, because that's wrong. And it feels like someone came up with this idea and that's all they did. I expect better of the movie, and that's one of the things. Lucky was over quick, and they did the call.
This and this, and then they're moving on. And you're like, oh, other cool stuff.
Yeah, they did the callback to it at the end, which was also unnecessary. But that is the only moment that I genuinely was like, ugh, what's the point of view? All right, just had a few other points of questions. In the movie, unlike the comic book, the girlfriend leaves him or gets killed in the first one. Do you remember?
No, she leaves him.
She's like
whatever, and leaves him.
That's right. He shows up. He's like, I'm not gay. I'm Kick-Ass.
She sends him a picture of him sucking some other dude's dick. That was at the very last issue of the first one, and then but in the first movie,
they
had the storybook happy ending.
Yeah, she's into it. So they kept her around okay, well, let's see what they do with her in this one because she wasn't in the comic. Let's see how they do it. And she breaks up with him in the first act. She serves no purpose.
Well, I think it seems to me that was just them rectifying a mistake in the first one, where they probably should have left it as is in the first one. But I could also see studio interference or pressure being well, you can't
You can't
the
have
romantic leads. Like they have to
Yeah,
end
they have to get
together or
together.
something like that. You can't.
It
Have
just seemed like we're
send
stuff
him a picture of her sucking some dude's dick in the movie. Like they can't do that.
That's another situation where I feel like you could have maybe, like, if you were going to expand the story into a more of a movie format, she's a person you could use. Like, okay, well, if the girlfriend's around, capturing a girlfriend, killing girlfriend's a classic sort of superhero trope. Just ask Peter Parker, that sort of thing. But as it is now, they just don't really use her at all. Also, I'm really sad that we don't get an Iron Man of this universe. We get sort of the like Iron Kick-Ass tease at the end, but I'm like, okay, in the first movie we clearly had this universe as Batman, like a guy with just training and like sort of combat armor and like just fought. And like, I want someone with a lot of money who also likes comic books to have like, there's a jetpack in this world. We know that. Just meddle and jetpack it up. But maybe I'll wait for Kick-Ass 3 for that one. If only we got more of a tease at the end. A damn more of a tease. The only thing
more like that.
I have one other thing. I think, even though I love the huge fight at the end, like I kind of wish, like after all that, like they just had like a team of Navy SEALs storm motherfucker's lair and just shoot him. Like, yeah, it's like, we're super villains. Yeah, we're badass. Kick-Ass is gonna come here. We're gonna kill him, and then just like Marines walk in and shoot them all dead. Like zero problem.
Like, we're coming
door.
down on crime in the city.
Yeah, like Mother Russia's like, I'm going to kill you. She's dead. Killed her. Don't worry. She's done with. Well, you don't get that enough. It'd be like the equivalent of the Indiana Jones whip thing, except as the climax of a movie.
So basically, you want Hulk to come in and smash Loki.
Yeah. Yeah, just nice undercutting. But that's Kick-Ass 2.
That is Kick-Ass 2. Up next, we have The Wolverine. I know, hot, fresh.
The Wolverine and Thor: The Dark World will be coming up.
Yes.
Is the other one that we've missed out on. And then, after that, we'll have updates on what may be coming in the future of those fat guys.
I want to say 300 probably next. 300.
But there may be other marathons of sorts or continuations of marathons.
Oh, really?
That's what they call a tease in the radio biz. This is the radio, right?
It should be.
Yeah. Then we could say like two super attractive skinny guys who all the ladies love.
That's true.
We should have rethought this. Can we podcast? Do you have to write to Apple? Dear Apple, please give us a podcast. Where do you apply for a podcast?
I'm cutting this off.
I don't care.